Okay, back with another product that we just recently acquired. And actually, it was one of those products where when we first saw it, we thought, how can this possibly work? It's much, much too simple as far as most of the rules went. But then as we studied it, we found that it was an excellent, excellent performer at pretty much all class levels, all tracks, quarter horses. It's called the Mystery Man method, and it's by a fella named Fred Markel. A little bit more on that later. But we've been in business for 36 years almost. And over those years, we've analyzed literally thousands and thousands of systems, most that are submitted to us. And most of them, basically, while they're well-intentioned from the user, they basically really are not worth the paper that they're written on. Very simplistic things that simply do not work over the long term. But every once in a while, we will get a methodology, a system that works much, much better than a lot of the other stuff we've seen, even some more modern day stuff from some of the modern day, the Sarton type of stuff, and things that are very complex. And we find some of these things like this one that is really so darn simple that we normally would have overlooked it. But Len has the ability now to test things very, very quickly thanks to his giant database. And so when we find something that really stands out, we'll normally publish it. Here what we say at the beginning of the website promotion, that we, over the years, we maybe out of every 20 items that we see, we might find one that's worthwhile, worth publishing. And actually the average is probably lower than that. That's just a general rule. But every once in a while we do uncover a gem. And as we say here, the Mystery Man method is one of those diamonds in the rough. And we talk a little bit about how in the old time days, and we're talking 60s, 70s, 80s, which to a lot of us in this game, we were around at that time, maybe kids, but and not into the game yet, but we were definitely around at that time. But back then, handicappers didn't have a whole lot to go on. There was no computers. They basically had to analyze patterns themselves from the past performances, and a lot of fellas like Talbot, Holloway, Saunders Doust, simply had a knack. These people, again, in our last video we talked about Tom Console and people we consider to be, quote, naturals, just seem to have this ability to dissect past performances and come up with winning systems. Well, and a lot of these guys back then were of that bent. This fella, Fred Markel, now we will tell you that Fred Markel, we had honestly never heard of him. And then we started doing some research, and we found out he had been around for quite a while, but he had written for American Turf Monthly, and for American Turf Monthly, he actually used the name of Joe Conti. Again, a lot of people in this business, use different names for different situations or different. Tom Ainsley wasn't Tom Ainsley. I believe his name was Richard Johnson or something like that. But still, the fact is, he wrote under, and a lot of Joe Conti stuff, if you remember it from American Turf Monthly, was really, really good, solid stuff. And we're looking at some of those again to see if anything reaches the quality of the Mystery Man. But basically, when we got the methodology, this is pretty much what it would look for. It was like a lot of the stuff we got in the old days. We sent away our $10 or $15 for a system and got back pretty much a mimeographed paper. Again, mostly they didn't work, but we got excited about them and gave them a try. But for the most part, most of them were duds. This one, actually, we gave it to one of our fellows who really likes to do research, and he looked at the paper version of it. This is Cole in Pittsburgh. He looked at the paper version of it, and he said it worked really, really well just using the rules. And he got like a 36% win rate, small sample, but when he tested the software, he saw that it did even better. Again, because we can put other stuff in the software that we don't have, that isn't in the paper. But the nice thing about this methodology is it seems to just work well everywhere. Sometimes, a lot of systems, especially the simpler systems, will be good in sprints, etc., and not really good for stakes. But this one, it picked now it wasn't that difficult probably to pick White Abarrio in the Breeders' Cup Classic, as the horse was one of the favorites and had a lot going for him. But not too many of our programs actually picked that horse, but Mystery Man did. Also had several other good winners and exactas on Breeders' Cup, on the 2 Breeders' Cup days, and so that surprised us right off the bat because the rules seemed so general and simple, even though they were put together in a rather unique way. He put a little twist in there that seems to make the difference. And when you look at the samples here, examples, there's some situations that are very, very high win percentage, mostly with favorites, but the percentage is really out of the world high. And we tested a lot of those situations, and they seem to hold up again over most tracks, most classes, and also the exactas in this one, which is only a 3-horse box, hit at a pretty high percentage. Here we've got an example too. Here's an $80,000 claimer, a nice winner at $9, $70 exact, and again you're just boxing 3 horses. Another $12 winner. You'll get a lot of horses in this general price range. It's Timbuktu, again, an $80,000 claimer. And here's Breeders' Cup Grand Slam Smile, second race on Friday. And he won it decisively and paid $780. Actually, is probably a good price on this horse, given that he has a really, really big percentage edge in total here. 11 points or better. If a horse has 11 points better than the second place, that's usually a more solid play. Overall, it is a more solid play, and this horse had a nice 16-point bulge. And this statistic here, we found that when the morning line favorite, it's actual morning line favorite, and has 11-point or more advantage in total column over the second horse, the win percentage is close to 50%, 48.6. So it's and this is Goodnight Olive Breeders' Cup Sprint, Distaff Sprint, only paid $420. But again, these horses win so often and are about 91% at least show. So these are the kind of horses you can use for singles. You can bet them straight if you want, but this is a very high win percentage. And then we found a situation with even a higher win percentage. When we get a morning line favorite with this system, and the morning line, the morning line's not that referent, but it has to be the favorite. And then if you're watching the races, if the horse is below 1-to-1, below even money, 4-to-5 or below, the horse will win 57% of the time. And again, it's a very high win percentage, albeit they're almost all going to be short prices. But if you're using exactas, trifectas, you've got to include those horses. They're great singles 1 out of 2 times, more than 1 out of 2 times. You put these horses in for a single in your pick 3 or pick 4s, and you've got that horse. And you can open it up around the other races if you want. Also, again, here's just a cheap claiming race, a nice winner, and again, the exacta hit. And we were surprised at how often the exacta hit, being that we were only playing 3 horses. You need to back up these horses mostly, second and third. Here's a nice horse. Here's a horse that runs second and keyed the exacta with 54 and 120. So again, every class of animal, every distance didn't seem to matter. It could be 1.25 miles on the turf, but this methodology did very well. And again, this cost is basically nothing to acquire, so we're not going to ask a big price for it, although it's probably, it's definitely worth more than this, but we're charging just $88 for it. So take a look at the website ad. If you have any questions, let us know. And you can order us again, call us or order through the website. Thanks, and we'll talk to you next time.